And the reason that we study disruptions is because we want to understand them, because if you could predict them, then you can figure out how to get ahead of them. All of a sudden, you had a business that ran cables. You had a business that did telephony. You had a business that did audiovisual. And then all of a sudden, one business could do everything because they could all connect to one cable. Some interesting statistics: 97% of all businesses under 125 million are trapped under 3 million. Why is that? Because once you get to 12 employees, it gets hard. Very small percentage of businesses break through 3 million. Think about 31.5 million businesses, and there's only like 3% of that. What is that? That's 900,000 businesses are greater than $3 million. And here's another stat I want to imprint on you. 97% of all those businesses cyclically will fail. Every 10 years, 2/3 will fail in the first 5. That means the big ones that make it past 5 fail in the 10th. Now, where does this information come from? I believe that being overtly transparent is important, because in my business I sold was a business helping independent business owners grow, scale, and dominate their marketplaces, and they outpaced their peer group 3.5 to 15 times in size and value. I take conquering and creating value not only for the business owner but for their teams very serious. I had done 12 years of research, formatted these businesses, worked with FTI, billion-dollar firm out of Chicago, breaking down 4,000 businesses over 3 years, refreshed that work with IGS out of Boston, to all the private equity guys use for research, and from 16 to 19 refreshed that data. And what we were looking for are the anomalies. See what happens in business. If it isn't hard enough to figure out how to build your business, there's these elements that happen in business. One is convergence. So convergence is, let's say I'm in the telecom space and I sell phone systems. Back in 2004, 5, 6, 7, and someone would come in and sell you the brain, and then they'd sell you the handsets. And in 2006 and 2007, something new happened, and that was the internet and Wi-Fi. And all of a sudden, you run a Cat 6 cable in the ceiling, and the phone guy would then come and connect to it for your phones. But with Wi-Fi, you didn't have to run a hard connection from your computer to the router. So they would sell you your computer and then a headset to go with your computer, and you didn't have to spend $500 to $1,000 on a handset, and you could use your computer and you could record calls and do everything that was in the brain. You didn't need the brain anymore. And so in 2006 and 7, there was 12,000 telephony integrators in the marketplace. And what they did is they would be the ones to come sell you those brains and those phone systems. And then all of a sudden, Wi-Fi came in, and these technicians would show up to some of your businesses, and you're like, I don't want that expensive system. I might not even be in this location very long. I just want my computer to work with the internet, and I want to use my headset, and I just want it to be simple. And the technicians went back to their business owners, and a lot of those business owners, the small ones were 3 to 5 million, the mid-size were between 12 and 15 million, and the large ones were 50 to 75 million. And they'd go back and tell the business owner, hey, the client wants to do this Wi-Fi thing, and the business owner would be like, man, it's staticky, it sounds like crap, it sounds like you're talking through a tube. Nobody's going to want to do it. They're going to be mad at us. I don't want anything to do it. I don't want my name on it. I don't want anything to do it. And the technician will go back and say, my owner doesn't want to do this. And the guy's like, or gal's like, I don't care. This is what we're doing. And they go back to the owner. And the owner's like, man, I told you, I don't want anything to do with it. If you want to do it on your own, go ahead. But I ain't putting my name on it. Now what happened is you had a bunch of technicians that learned from 2006, 2007, and 2008 how to make it sound really super good. And the old-fashioned business owner hanging on to legacy equipment all of a sudden loses their technician, who, guess what, realizes not only can I put the computer in there and put the headsets to it, but I can run the cable. When I run the cable, I can put the security to it. I can put the IT infrastructure on the cable. I can put the video cameras on the cable. I can put the audio visual on the cable. I can put everything on that cable and harness to the cable, and therefore now, instead of having one company that sells handsets, all of a sudden you had business automation. That's convergence, where, see, all these businesses did the one thing, and then all of a sudden one business could do everything because they could all connect to one cable. Now, what they didn't do is go out and start these big businesses. They went to their friends, the cable guy, the audiovisual guy, the IT guy, and they said, hey, how would you like to come work with me? And they formed new companies. And all of a sudden today, those companies disrupted traditional telephony companies. And the manufacturers with the handsets, the Mitel, ShoreTels, Intertel, Samsungs, all those guys lost power because you don't need the handset anymore. You use the headset. So it disrupted that marketplace. That disruption happened from 2006 to 2009. But see, what allowed that disruption to happen was another disruption. And the reason that we study disruptions is because we want to understand them, because if you could predict them, then you can figure out how to get ahead of them. Does that make sense? So this is the research we were doing. The other disruption, I don't know if you remember, but there used to be stores called Circuit City. Certainly you remember Best Buy. There used to be home theater and automation. There was 12,900 home theater and automation businesses in the United States around this same period of time. And if you remember, if you wanted a 50-inch TV, it was 25 grand and they'd come install it in your house and you could put a theater in there and it'd sound amazing. All of a sudden in 2007, Magnolia Hi-Fi, it was a $100 million regional audiovisual group out of the West Coast. Best Buy acquired them. And the strategy was, we're going to take a $100 million company and turn it into a $3.5 billion company in 36 months. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to acquire you. We're going to bring you into every single Best Buy around the world. We're going to knock the price of all the equipment out to the bottom. We're going to grab all the technicians that work for those 13,000 approximate locations. We're going to hire them for half the price because they're going to lose their jobs. And we're going to dominate the home theater, home automation space, because now we can cook the curtains, the security, the HVAC, the this, the that, the garage doors, your cameras, your TVs, and now we can go in and sell you something different than home theater. It's now called what? Home automation. Convergence of multiple things, because they did what happened in telecom. Now, why is this important? Because we mapped that cycle. So it started in 2007, 8, 9, and 10. And what happened by 2010 is they wiped out 77% of the independent home automation people. Just wiped them out. And you had three categories of those businesses. You had what I call the slammers, visualization, but you're driving around and someone would have their trunk open and they'd have speakers in the back. You can swing by the parking lot and buy speakers. I call them slammers. Then you had the big regional players, the circuit cities and the big, $100 million, $200 million regional players. And then you had what's called the tweeners. Tweeners are usually family-owned businesses. They're well-run and operated. If they're well-run and operated, then they're in the middle of those two things, and they're kind of in that somewhere between 5 million and 25 million size, and they're comfortable and they take care of their clients and they love their clients. Well, what happened is the big guys went away really super fast, because they had a lot of overhead, and the slammers became immaterial because all of a sudden you could buy the same shit in Best Buy that they were selling out of the trunk of their car. Well, all the technicians lose their job and they go to work over for Best Buy, and that cycle lasted about 3 years. What happened in that cycle is they started realizing this talent we inherited that's getting paid half the price, they're miserable, they're pissed, they're angry, they're looking for something new. What happened? Boom, telecom happened. Now they move out of there and go over to the corporate side. They're the ones, those technicians that moved over, that started going in and doing all the stuff on the commercial buildings. So there was a new demand for technicians that knew what they're doing, because the complexity at the commercial building was different than doing a little house. So all of a sudden they started getting pulled. Well, what was Best Buy's answer to that? They're going to take blue shirts, 18-year-old kids, and teach them how to install $100,000 home theaters. Well, that cycle ran about 3 years, where the consumer's like, the stuff you sold me sucks. Then those consumers went to the tweener business and they're like, I spent all this money with Best Buy, TV's great, everything sucks. They'd come in and say, let's fix it. And they'd say they did everything wrong, and they'd upsell you, and you'd end up spending about what you would have spent in the first place. So now I'm a consumer and I just fixed all that Best Buy did. So now I go to my buddy who's, man, I love your home theater. Say, don't go to those guys, go to this guy. And the emergence of home automation came in, and they started getting contracts with builders. And all of a sudden I became the home automation guy, and I have a $5, $10, $20 million business. That segment of those tweener businesses became bigger than the whole market because they were able to converge multiple products into the business. They weren't just selling TVs or theaters. So you guys understand what convergence is?